Young people say to old people in our country, "You're not going to die, Mum and Dad. You can't die. We can't do without you." Well, that's a lot of crap. And it doesn't help the old people who know they're going to die and want to have their family involvement. They want to do it as they want to do it.
Former palliative care nurse Cathy Williams is the founder of a Coffin club in New Zealand. Cathy has created the club in 2010 for retirees to get together and to build their own casket. And not your ordinary casket. A coffin you can customize to your own taste. There are now a dozen coffin clubs around the country, and the idea is fast spreading to other parts of the world. In this episode, Cathy explains how the Coffin Club started, and she shares with us powerful stories that will move you. After listening to Cathy, you'll realize that this club brings way more than just a casket to its member, and who knows, you might even be inspired to start your own club. Please support the show by liking and sharing this episode on social media, and to make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes, sign up for our newsletter at deafhangout.com. It will also be a massive help to us if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you can do right now by simply clicking the subscribe button. Now, get ready for this episode. Let's all join the Coffin Club.
I'm very curious about how did you come up with this idea? What made you create this Coffin Club?
I went to a meeting of about 50 old people, University of the Third Age. It's for people 50 plus. We have different interests within that group. It might be book reading, it might be going to films, it might be politics, it might be any of those things. We meet usually in people's homes, and there's always somebody who suggests it and then takes control of that meeting. Every 2 months they have a general meeting and we all join up. They were asking for a different group or two because they were getting a bit short of different groups. I don't know where it came from. It might have been in my being. I was a midwife. Professionally, I was a midwife, went through various other healthcare things and then ended up as a palliative care nurse in the hospice. So my professional life was from birth to death. That was lingering, I think, in my being, but I don't know what made me do it, but I stood up and I said I would like to build my own coffin. I had no idea before I went to that meeting, and I have no real idea what prompted me to get up and say that was what I wanted to do. It was a bit of a stunning thing for the group, but after the meeting I had a line of people for various reasons that wanted to join up with me. One of them sticks out in my mind. It was a middle-aged couple and they'd lost a child. It was quite a while ago. They had the baby in hospital. The obstetrician who had looked after them was more like a god to them. He came to the door of the room and said, "You can go home now." And they were too scared to say, was our baby a boy or a girl? Was our baby normal, or was there something wrong with our baby? Why did our baby die? And off he swanned. To That day, when I stood up and they waited for me, they have no idea. They were unable to name the baby. It was just a nothing, but it wasn't a nothing. It was their baby. That was the thing that stood out in that group. The others were just interested, oh, yeah, maybe it's a good idea, maybe, but that really spurred me on. So I went away from that meeting and I thought, well, I'm no builder. I gathered some old blokes I knew who had skills for building coffins. There was about 3 or 4 of them, and some dear old ladies who were old-fashioned and loved to spoil their men and feed them and give them compliments. We had a meeting in a coffee shop. I believe the blokes went out mumbling, saying, oh, ho, ho, but they turned up at my place when the next meeting was held, and we started building coffins after getting all the legalities, whether it was legal to do it, what was needed, tra-la-la, all those things. And we started building them in my garage and carport at home. We had to get wood, we had to get tools, everything. Anyhow, it went quite well. It went so well, really, that soon my whole house was focused on being a coffin club and a little bit overpopulated, if I may say. A friend, a very affluent friend, she and her husband loaned us a workshop. They make building of houses, Lockwood houses, and they had a few properties that weren't being utilised. And actually we're still there, although we have to shift quite soon, but because it's been sold. But we've been there 7, 8 years, so it's great. So off we went. We built coffins. It has spread unbelievably all over the world, all over New Zealand. It's incredible, really, and it has caused a lot of pleasure socially. It's massively important. All these people come, and today lots of oldies don't get what I call a loving touch. Their family are all over the world these days. Their husband or wife have died. They know their neighbours, but nobody actually takes them in their arms, gives them a cuddle, a few pecks on the cheek, and really means it when they say, how are you? They feel safe, they feel loved, and they can say, not, oh, I'm well, they can say, I'm crap. I've been to the doctor and he can't do anything, and on and on. Probably socially, it's an incredible advantage to a lot of people. People came to order and make their coffins. Many of them have come back from when they were in my place. So they've been coming for 8 years. We know each other well and we care about each other.
You started like very small and suddenly it spreads everywhere. Stands that I am in France, I've heard about you. We heard about you in the US. We heard you about everywhere in the world. And every time we have this very positive reaction, well, I had this positive reaction. How do you explain that?
It's normal and natural. Death has often been feared because young people say to old people in our country, you're not going to die, Mum and Dad. You can't die. We can't do without you. Well, that's a lot of crap. And it doesn't help the old people who know they're going to die and want to have their family involvement. They want to do it as they want to do it, not how some firm will come and say to the family, your mum was very precious. You will want a special coffin for her. You will want this one, and this one happens to be the most expensive coffin in the shop. They don't want that. Their mum and dad just wanted a box with flowers painted on it, or Elvis Presley painted on it, or anything, but not a big flash expensive thing. So it's taking control, really, of their own demise. They get family involvement. We have grandchildren coming in and helping. We have children, adult children coming in and helping. It becomes a normal situation, which it should be. There's nothing spooky about it. We've all got to do it. It's not spooky at all.
Did you had actually like some reaction who were a little bit like adverse to say, well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, this is something that should be done by professionals, something like that? Did you have this kind of reactions?
The professionals, the funeral directors and things,
right.
We involved them in our first one. We involved them. We asked them to come and help us with the plans, and they came. We're only a tiny, tiny wee drop in a huge ocean of water, but we're making a difference, because quietly I look around and I see they are getting more options for people. They have patterned coffins now. Okay, they're not cheap and cheerful like ours, but they have different things. We have made a huge difference in our own small way, I feel. A little while ago, when we wanted some special linings, I would ring a person that sold to the funeral people, and I'd say, can I order something? Yes. What firm are you with? I say, Kiwi Coffin Club, Clunk, because they were terrified if they were seen to be with us, they would get punished by that funeral firm.
Right.
That's all stopped now. We've got access to anything we want. If somebody wants like a professional satin insert, we can just ring up and get it, and it's there before we turn around. So things are changing. It had to change, and bit by bit it has changed.
One thing that really is astonishing for me, or very surprising, is how much joy you have in these clubs, because you showed me these musical videos and everybody is laughing, making fool of themselves, cheering. I know there's this life, in the club. And that's a paradox here, because the main activity, it's all about preparing our own end, our own death, right? Making sure that we are in control, as you said, building something which is meant for us, what we want. But by the way that you do that is incredible. I can sense that there's a sense of freedom, of humor and everything like this. So how do you explain that? How do you explain this paradox?
What we say very often is that birth is a celebration. You have an incredible life, whoever you are. Some have more downs than ups, but the experiences of every single person that's alive, they have it inside them. So their death should be celebrated. That is the crunch. It should be celebrate birth, have a great life, celebrate death. Celebrate the life of that person, what they have done by doing their own coffins. That is a celebration by the person of their life. We have coffins with one young man hadn't had a go-kart when he was a kid. Don't know whether you've seen that coffin. Incredible. He was dying. He'd had a very hard battle. He called me to his place. He told me exactly how he wanted his go-kart to be. He wanted 4 wheels and tra-la-la. He had his nameplate on it, you know, his the grill in the front, the reflectors and everything. And he went off in his go-kart that he'd never ever had, but always yearned for. Well, what a celebration. Even though he was a young man and was sadly missed by his young wife and 2 little girls, was they'd had all that sadness with the diagnosis, the nursing, the looking after him, but all among that was the great love that family had for each other. And then to have a morbid funeral would have been disastrous. They celebrated him. They celebrated him for what he was and go-kart boy, you know. Yeah. So off he went in a go-kart. It's simple, really.
It feels to me that it's very therapeutic, you know, what you do, like building this is very like, it helps you like express something, right? But do you have like other reaction? Because I've seen the joy, the laughter, but do you have like people like just like say, wow, you know what, I'm scared, I'm fearful, you know, and they kind of open up and share things?
We have a few people. There's a few that are unwilling to come through the gate. For example, one woman that sticks out in my memory, she had lost her husband and her daughter in quick succession, and quite recently she'd had bad experiences. She saw the Coffin Club as somewhere that she felt she might have a bond that would help her. She came to the gate a few weeks, and she didn't get beyond there. But she knew it would help her if she could get in. She came a bit further. The first time she came in, she said, well, I don't really know why I'm here, but you know, you might be able to help me. And so we talked. She went away, she came back, she ordered a coffin, and she decorated in the most exquisite way. She comes back every week and helps with the little baby coffins we make to give to the obstetric unit for babies that don't survive birth. She's a different person. We have had one lady who, she's just an ordinary lady, and her husband had died and her daughter was in a very bad relationship, and he set her alight and she burned to death. Her daughter, the daughter of that woman, couldn't cope and committed suicide. Right. And that lady, for about 8 years, was in a ball of grief. She was just totally unable to get out of it. It was just, you know, she was a Catholic lady, that one. She went to church and, you know, hoping that something would be said or done, something would come to her that would give her relief. Well, she came, and boy, oh boy, she's a different woman too. Now, those are two extreme, very extreme cases that just pop into my mind. It isn't always like that. We've had families with great tragedies. They have come as a family, and we've built them a coffin when the tragedy has happened, and they come as a family and decorate it. They laugh, they cry, they yell out, they have music blaring. I get letters saying, you have no idea how that helped us. They were there for a day. We fed and watered them, and it just made such a difference. It doesn't take all the pain of death and terrible circumstances, accidents, suicides and things. It doesn't take it away, but there's something there that socially they just love it. In the long run, it is very beneficial to them, I can tell you.
I think what you bring here with this club is connection. You connect people. You say this is okay.
Yeah.
And how much is needed here today? Because I feel like people are alone or feel alone, or and they try to fill the void of aloneness with things. But still, what we all yearn for is connection. To be able to discuss,
course. To be loved,
to be loved,
to be cared about.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
All that. Yeah. And this is what you bring.
All of that.
And I think this is, and why it's so powerful to me, it's because this is something real, It's not bullshit. It's not like bullshit doing things like no, it's look.
No.
Yeah, it's about life and it's about death and it's important and it's who we are.
Yeah. And it's amazing how people can come out and be themselves. There's no falseness about going to a place and, it's no commercialism really. Perhaps that's part of it. It's all honest love and care that is shared by a lot of people.
I have to tell you, when I've talked to this, to your idea, to my mother-in-law, she was just like ecstatic. She was just, I want to make one. I want to create my coffin club.
Good on her.
My coffin club. She wants to create the coffin club actually in her small village. I think you inspire people. You inspire people the way that you do, because it's something that we don't want to talk, and we all know it. And the way that it's presented, which is very simple, very, very ordinary, which you say, well, it will happen to us. We have to be like this. We crave for this authenticity. We crave for this simple way to deal with things. We crave for connections, and this is what.
Yes. I think a whole heap of people have come to accept death as something that is inevitable, and it isn't all bad, that it's normal and natural, because lots of them say to me, I'm not afraid of dying anymore. It's whether they believe there's an afterlife or not. I mean, and we've got cultural things a lot in New Zealand. We try hard to help with those. For example, Indians who burn on a pyre and things, in the crematorium, they allow them right into the crematorium. Everybody's there, and then the women go home to clear the house of alcohol, get the food ready, and the men do their thing, and then they light a little fire on the coffin, and then they put it into the cremator. So, okay, it's not like it would happen in India, but there's certain things that good enough for them to have peace in their hearts. It's lots and lots of cultural things that happen. We're not totally part of some of them, but we've had a little Jewish man who just wanted a coffin, no paint, no nothing, and they have to be lined with a good plastic because that's one of the legalities in New Zealand. We helped him go off just in his little wooden coffin, no paint, no nothing, just totally simple, and that satisfied his need. He went off happily because he knew he was doing it as a Jew should. There's lots of things around it that are good.
How did it change you, if it did actually? Did you change with this experience of
me change?
Yeah.
No, I've done a lot of voluntary work. I've always, they call me a cuddle bunny, which is apparent because I tend to be free with people. It's lovely getting older because it's easier to be yourself and to cuddle. A young woman, a young man, whoops. An older woman especially is very, very fortunate because she is acceptable as a cuddle bunny. So it probably has changed me a little bit, but it was my path anyhow.
You just told me just before we started to record that you did a TED talk, so.
Yes.
So, TED Talks are something actually, if you do a TED Talk, it means that you have a message, you have, this is what I do. If you have to say something, to the audience that I have it or anybody who listen to this, what would be this message that you would like to share?
These were my take home things. We are who we are because of our unique life, our achievements and memories. Death comes and should be celebrated for the life that has been lived, and I live by that. The importance of taking control of one's inevitable departure from this world is very important. The opportunity of being in a group of like-minded people, that's the social bit, and the ability to discuss anything you want with openness, and they do. Probably the most vital part, and I stand by this, is the loving touch bit. Loving somebody that could be alone, socially deprived, really. And there's so many, and it's going to get worse and worse with the ageing population of the world. They call it the silver tsunami, meaning all these silver-haired boys and girls that used to be a silver tsunami. It's going to wash over. It's going up like that in the next X number of years, with the caregiving ones, the younger ones, staying like this. Most important. That's what my message would be.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Again, please support the show by signing up at deathhangout.com or clicking on the subscribe button on your screen.